Hola, hola. Creo que tenemos un poquito de eco acá.
Hola, antes de empezar la charla en inglés, quisiera confirmar que las personas que nos acompañan de manera virtual puedan escucharnos. No sé si alguien puede abrir su micrófono y confirmarnos si nos escuchan.
Escucho
Sí,
perfectamente, sí,
se
señor.
escucha bien.
¿Sí?
Sí, señora.
Listo. Perfecto. Bueno, voy a cambiar a inglés en este momento. Hello, everyone. My name is Carolina Horta. I am the marketing manager for EF in Colombia, and I'm super happy to be here. As Claudia said, I'm doing this in English, but my English is not perfect, so please excuse if I make any mistakes. However, I am a language lover, like all of the people that work for EF. I'm not sure if you guys hello, but EF it's a language company. We have over 52 destinations around the world where people can study with us 7 different languages: English, French, German, Italian, Mandarin, Korean, and Japanese. And we also have Spanish. We just don't offer it in Colombia for obvious reasons because we're not going to travel to study Spanish. I also wanted to share that I'm a culture lover. I've been working with EF for 10 years, well, 8 years. And I love marketing. I've always been in sales and marketing, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of my background later on. However, I've always have a soft side for culture and for human resources. I think we make a big difference. We humans make a big difference in whatever we do. And in this era where technology is taking over, I think it's very important to remember that the big difference can be made by us and our skills. All right, so that's basically why I say I'm a culture lover at EF. If anyone has had the chance to see our social media or maybe have been in one of our schools, we have a very specific culture. We love languages, we love adventure, and we love, actually our mission as a company is opening the world through education, and that's what we represent. So I wanted to start sharing a little bit about me because I think it's important for you to know about the person that's standing here and talking to you about LinkedIn and why it is important to build an international profile with a personal brand. So as I told you, I'm Carolina Horta. Next year, I'm gonna have my 20th working anniversary. So I started working 20 years back, which it sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. I don't know how it's been 20 years already. And half of my professional career has been with EF. So actually that picture that you see at the top, it's me in the pink shirt. That was my first EF fair at a school in Bogota. That's August 2015. And I got this actually out of my Instagram, just so you can see that it's true. And I wanted to share this picture because 10 years ago, I had no idea where the world was going to go. I had no idea I'd be standing here talking to students, but also because my love for languages and my love for seeing other people pick up their careers thanks to languages, it's still present, and I hope it keeps accompanying me. I started as a marketing coordinator. I used to visit schools and do fairs, visit universities and do fairs. After that, I became the ambassador responsible for Colombia. The ambassador program is a program that EF has for students that have traveled with us and help us promote the EF experience from their experience. So I was in charge of promoting this program in the country. I actually have now in my team someone that's an ambassador responsible, and this is still something that's very strong for us in EF. And then I became, for the first time, a marketing manager. I call it an offline marketing manager because I would look after all the stuff that we do offline. What do I mean by offline? Visiting schools, visiting universities, looking after the ambassador program, hosting events, but any in-person things that we could do. And then after that, I went to sales. I went to be a regional sales manager. So I was in charge of traveling to medium-sized cities in Colombia, like Villavicencio, Ibagué, Yopal. It was very tough. And I would sell courses. So just so you guys know, we have representatives in all of the cities. And I used to be the leader of 11 representatives who were in those cities. After that, I came back to marketing and I started doing digital marketing. So I had already my offline side, but I needed to build more the digital part. So I came back to learn more about digital marketing. I left for 2 years to do something completely different. And in October last year, October 2023, so a year and a half ago, I came back again to be a marketing manager again, looking after the entire marketing strategy for EF in Colombia. I was telling Daniela earlier that I'm probably facing one of my biggest obstacles in my professional career with how fast everything is changing. And I really feel like we need to be very conscious about how things are changing. And I think that makes even more important who we are and our personal brand and what do we want to show to the world, because that's going to definitely make a difference. I am very proud of building high-performance teams. Last year in Colombia, you probably don't know this, but I want to share it. We won the cup, the EF Cup for Colombia. So EF basically has a competition every year for all its markets. We sell EF courses in over 100 markets around the world. And Colombia got the World Cup last year. So we were the winners, and I'm very proud because I think the marketing team had a lot to do with this. And I'm happy that it happened when I got back. So I'm super proud of it. And something else that I wanted to share is that I really enjoy the feeling of making a difference. So I'm not the most experienced speaker that you will meet, definitely not, but I am very passionate about transferring information, and if anything that I can say today is going to make a difference for your future, then I'm super happy with that. So that's me. Oh, and I traveled with Borrego. Does anyone know Borrego? Yes? No? Yes? Some people do? Raise your hand if you know Borrego. Okay. So people do know Borrego. So I have those pictures because one of the most exciting projects I did last year was traveling with Borrego, who, for those of you who don't know him, he's a big influencer, a big Colombian influencer, and we had him visit our London school and our Oxford school. Borrego, I love him because I think he's very different from many other content creators. His content, if you look at it, is very educational, right? So he does these things about his farm and his family, and I think that's very connected to EF because we're education too. And it was such an exciting project, and I can tell you that whatever you see on his social media is what he is in real life. He's so talented, he's so smart, and he really loves what he does. So I wanted to share that because I think it's one of our most important milestones for last year, and I'm super proud of being able to work with Borrego. So today we're going to talk about LinkedIn tips and tricks, but if you saw the last name of this talk, it's also how personal brand is important. in an interconnected world. So I wanted to start backwards. I wanted to start talking to you guys about personal brand. Then I'm gonna talk a little bit about why it's important to be on LinkedIn nowadays. I think you guys know, but I have some data that I think it's very relevant. Tips and tricks that you should use in LinkedIn, and some don'ts. Some people you should definitely don't do while you're in your LinkedIn profiles. So what is personal brand? Can anyone tell me what personal brand is? We have Majo, who's going to be bringing the microphone for the people who wants to participate. No one? No one wants to take a wild guess? You can also take it in Spanish if you want, right? Maybe someone that's connected? I don't know how to see if they're writing.
Can you hear me?
Majo, we have a brave person here. Juan Orozco is raising his hand too on the virtual.
Hola. In Spanish, teacher?
In Spanish, yes.
Sorry.
Yes, if you're more comfortable in Spanish, we can do it in Spanish.
Okay. La marca personal es como la forma en la que te presentas con tu conocimiento pues al público y haces que la gente te conozca desde tu nombre, ¿no? Como lo que haces y lo que sabes hacer. Creo.
Thank you. What's your name? Estefania, thank you. Thank you for being brave. I think we had also someone that wanted to speak. Juan Orozco, I believe was his name. Is his name?
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Maybe personal brand is like the way you show yourself to like potential employers, and
Juan, we'll get back to you in a minute. I think we're having technical difficulties. But yes, Estefania, you were right. Personal brand is your reputation, is how you're perceived, and it's very important for us to understand that we are the ones that dictate how people see our personal brand, right? So this is my favorite quote. It was said by Jeff Bezos, and he said, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So basically, is what people think about you, is how people perceive you, is how Jeff Bezos said, what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I think this is very important because we always think about how people are seeing us, but we don't really think we're leaving our reputation everywhere we go. So it's important for you guys to keep this into account. And why should we care about it? Is it all about other people? Is it all about what people think about us? We should care about it because it's gonna help you stand out of the crowd. So for example, if you guys are running for a position in your dream company and you are one of 15 people that are doing interviews for that role, your personal brand is what can differentiate you and is what can make the difference. Is what can make people say it's gonna be Estefania and it's not gonna be someone else just because she had this special something that we really liked. It can lead you to opportunities. I think the more you expose yourself, the easier it's gonna be for people to keep you in their mind and to put your personal brand out there. And what I think it's very important is your network, your net worth is your network. So basically, tu valor está en tu red de contactos. It's amazing the difference that can be made by you having a good network. It can be the difference on you being in a long list on LinkedIn or just having your CV dropped in the right desk for you to get a job. So the more networking you do, the best it's gonna be for your professional life. So you might ask, Carolina, okay, but my personal brand, it's my reputation, but what is it that I'm selling? What is it that's gonna make me stand out? So first of all, your unique skills, your soft and hard skills. Has anyone here taken a skill test where you know what your strengths are? Yes? I feel you're the teachers, so I'm a little bit scared. But can you share with us a little bit about those tests that you've taken, Majo?
Well, but I mean, it was in one of those job sites, and you get asked for, how you manage different things, your thoughts on different situations, and all those kind of things. And well, it is divided, as far as I remember, because it was a long time ago. Some criteria like leadership or organization or knowledge, hard knowledge, soft skills. And then you get like a grade, like a punctuation on each. And it shows you like what are your strengths and what areas you could improve. It's something like that. Again, it was like 12 to 15 years ago, so I don't quite remember everything.
Well, but thank you. Thank you for sharing. I think you also have something to say.
Yes, I wanted to say that usually we were like emphasizing in the past the hard skills. So my companies were looking for people prepared or certain technical or knowledge. But nowadays we notice that the soft skills are maybe more important for companies, how to connect with people, how to interact among the partners inside the company. Relationships at times are more valuable for companies than the knowledge itself that at times can be learned, even if the person doesn't have it at the moment of being hired.
Thank you. Yes, and I agree. I think we're seeing this revolution with artificial intelligence that's making us aware that maybe the technical skills that you were mentioning are not the most important now. I was doing a talk earlier at a high school, and we saw that 3 of the most important skills that companies look for now are leadership, communication, and collaboration, which you mentioned kind of. And those 3 skills, none of them are hard skills, right? So I think it's very important for all of us to know what our hard skills are, but most importantly, what our soft skills are. And I asked about the test because I'm gonna share with you in a little bit about a test I took, but I think the first step to building a personal brand is learning about yourself and knowing what your assets are. This test that I took, it's based on if you know your strengths, you can leverage on your strengths. So your strengths, I mean, if you work in something that's connected to your strengths and you're good at it, then you're probably going to be more successful than trying to be successful at something where your strengths are simply not. And there are nowadays tests which I invite everyone to take because, again, the first thing to build your personal brand is knowing you and knowing where you're strong and where you're not. Work achievements or life experiences. I started talking to you about a little bit about our achievements as a company with EF, a little bit about my work experience and my life experience, and that's also something that makes me different, right? And I bet all of you have something that makes you different. I have part of my personal life is that I lived 9 years in the US, and I did high school there. So that makes me very different from the people that did high school here in Colombia. It doesn't make me more special. It doesn't make me better. It just makes me different, and I probably have different skills than people who graduated from high school here just because it was a different culture. So it's also important for you guys to go back into your profiles and look into what makes me different. I always think that probably if someone told you about your life, if it was someone else, you'd probably think it's interesting, right? But since it's you, you feel like it's not a normal thing that's like day to day. But think about those things that you've had, like life experiences that make you different, that make you special, and that make you strong. And for me, something that's also very important is your values and personality. I don't think everyone has the same personality, and I don't think the value set for everyone is the same. So it's also important to include in your personal brand things that relate to your values. For me, my biggest strength in the test I told you I took is responsibility, which I also believe is part of kind of my values. So I tend to never leave something in the middle or leave something without finishing, because it's part of who I am. It's part of my DNA, and nowadays it's also part of my personal brand. So if you'd probably go and ask anyone who has worked with me, they will probably tell you she's very responsible, because it's part of my personal brand. So how do you build your personal brand? And I think I've been mentioning a couple of these. How do you want to be defined as? So we have some students here, right? Some active students, yes? Do you guys want to share with me a little bit about what careers do you study? Social communication and journalism, okay. Digital entertainment, okay, cool. Multimedia engineering. Okay, good. And if I asked you about your dream, like what's your dream related to your career? So, or maybe someone you look up to. No one? There's no one. Alguien que tú digas, yo quiero ser como esta persona, o alguien que admiras un montón y que dices, yo quiero llegar allá. Anyone else, maybe?
¿Alguno por allá?
It's a good question, actually, and I like that you don't have an answer, because these sound like simple questions, but if you want to be defined as something or as someone, it's good to have an example.
I admire Melissa Martinez.
Ah, good. Melissa Martinez, that's the sports anchor?
Yes, that's sports.
Okay. Why do you admire her?
Can you repeat me, please? But
Why do you admire her? Why do you think she's...
I admire because I think that is a super woman, I think that is super interesting that her job in this field. The soccer is very very focused in the men's,
Okay.
and see a woman in this job is very, very, very interesting.
Cool. What's your name?
Catalina Millán.
Catalina. Catalina, very good. Yes, let's give her a round of applause. She's brave. Catalina, so can you imagine if your LinkedIn profile in like 5-10 years said the second woman to be the best anchor in soccer or something like that? That'd be cool, right?
Yes.
So you need to look after that. And I know it might sound funny or it might sound basic, but we don't stop to think about these things. And it's important. And it's more important for you guys because you're very young. And I think you have a lot of things to do. But you have to start tracing those goals to get them. What are you good at? I told you about, we talked about the strengths test. The one I took is called Clifton Strengths. This is made by a company called Gallup. Maybe you guys have heard about Gallup. And I think it's one of the best strength tests that's out there in the market. And thanks to that test, I know my top 5 skills are, let's see if I remember all of them, responsibility, positivity, woo, which is winning others over, communication, and the last one I can't remember, but those 4, they guide me to they give me a north, right? And then remember at the beginning of this talk, I told you I love human resources and I love talking to people. And if you see those things, they're very connected. The other one is leadership, now I remembered. So those are very connected to working with people. So probably I work in marketing because I love to see how people evolve. I love to see how to attract people to our business. But I'm trying to turn my career, and I'd love to turn my career into something related to human resources or coaching or something related to that. Sorry. Who's your target audience? This is more starting to talk about LinkedIn. So it's important when you build your LinkedIn profiles that you kind of think of someone you're talking to, right? If you are an engineer, you're probably going to talk to a different recruiter than if you are in communications. So you need to speak the language that these people speak, and there are probably technical terms that every area has, and they're different, and you need to think about that. What do you want to communicate? I'm going to show you a good example. And then once you define your brand, you need to tell your story, which is what's going to take us to LinkedIn. Nowadays, we have something additional in our life that is not going away, and it's technology, and it's how people see us online. You're probably also selling your personal brand in your social media, and maybe you're not aware. How many of you guys, if you can raise your hand, have an Instagram account? Many. How many have a TikTok account? Well, let me tell you that if you have one of these accounts and you publish regularly, you are already building your personal brand. You maybe don't know it, but people have an idea of you and who you are and what you do and your reputation according to what you publish on social media. There are actually companies that check your social media, not LinkedIn, but Instagram and TikTok, when you're in hiring processes. So this is something that you might want to take into account. So when are you promoting your brand? I just told you, your social media, you're also promoting it in the way you talk, you're also promoting it in the way you dress, and I don't think there is a certain right way to dress. I just think it has to be congruent with what you want to sell and with what you want to do, right? If I work in marketing and I want to work in the biggest petroleum industry, then probably my LinkedIn profile is going to look very different than the profile from someone who wants to get into the music industry, right? The idea is for the information that we put in our LinkedIn account and in our personal brand to be coherent. So now that we have talked about personal brand, do you guys have a more clear idea of what a personal brand is? Yes? No? Yes? Good.
Hi, can you listen to me?
Yes, I can.
I do have a question. Um, in the previous slide, what does it mean to tell your story exactly?
I can go back. But tell your story, I think, so I've been telling you guys about where to get the information. So you can look into your strengths, you can look into your personal experiences, you can look into your background, you can look into your professional career, and then from that, you're gonna build a story that you're gonna tell. In this talk specifically, we're gonna tell a story on LinkedIn, right? Because that's what we're talking about. So I think with personal brand, as I mentioned before, you're telling a story through several different places, live, wherever you go, in person. You're telling a story in your other social media accounts, but in this case, we're gonna talk about LinkedIn.
Okay, it's more about the platform you use.
Yes, exactly. How you put together a story. I mean, you're telling a story about yourself, right? We're always telling stories about ourselves. So it's the platform that you're telling the story on. Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now let's go into LinkedIn. We know what a personal brand is, so now we want to understand why is LinkedIn important. So I'm going to read of the presentation, actually. Something happened here. Some data that makes LinkedIn very relevant, and you need to be on LinkedIn. How many of you have a LinkedIn account? The younger students, they're either not paying attention or they don't have a LinkedIn account. So if you don't have one, then you might want to start building yours. And I think after this, you're going to have a lot of tips to start building it. So LinkedIn has nowadays 1 billion members, not 1 million, but 1 billion members. There are 69 million companies in LinkedIn registered around the globe. 95% of recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates. So if you guys are going to want to find a job, LinkedIn is the place to go. 6 people per minute are hired through LinkedIn. What does this mean? That people who look for a job and recruiters get together on LinkedIn to start developing new roles. And it is the place to do international networking. Nowadays, I think remote working is becoming even more and more and more and more, people do it more. So if you dream of working for a company that pays you in dollars or that pays you in a foreign currency, you need to be on LinkedIn, because that's where they look for people that they wanna hire. So now, after we build our personal brand, we're going to talk about some tips and tricks for LinkedIn. So I have used my profile. You will see 2 profiles. You will see my profile and Tania Domen Science profile. Tania, she's our head human resources and culture officer for EF in Latin America. And her profile is much, much better and much more complete than me. That's why I'm also going to share her examples. But I think we can see also a couple of things from mine. So first thing, profile picture. Can you see my, yes. You need to have a profile picture. People like to see who they're gonna hire. People like to, they like to see the face that they're gonna interview. So please put a profile picture. Cover photo. The cover photo is this part that you can edit. I'm not sure if you guys have done it, but you can edit this part of your LinkedIn profile. For EF, they shared with us this because we're very proud to be part of the list of 2024 Forbes World's Best Employers, and also top companies for women to work with. But you could put anything that's related to you, right? And that's related to your interests. Headline. The headline is what goes right under your name. And if we read mine, it says Marketing Manager at EF, Marketing Business Strategy, Customer Experience, MBA. So people who read this, they're gonna know 3 things about me already. They're gonna know I work at EF, they're gonna know I'm a marketing manager, they're gonna know I have experience in marketing, in business strategy, and in customer service. And they also know, they actually know 4 things, they will also know that I have studied an MBA. So this headline is super important, and it's super important for you to put things that are that make your profile attractive. Experience and projects. We're gonna see later on another profile with experience and projects, but it's very important for you to put anything, and it's not only about work experience, it's also about some other type of experiences. So for example, if you have volunteered in something, please include that in your LinkedIn profile, because that can set you apart and can make a difference, and is part of telling your story. If you have lived abroad, if you speak a language to a certain level, those are details that are very important to include. If you compete in sports, exactly. Anything that sets you apart. People who practice sports, and thank you for making that comment, they tend to be very disciplined. And that's something that companies love to have inside their teams. So that's also very relatable, and I would put that in my LinkedIn profile. I don't, but if I was, I would put it. And then skills and endorsement, which is this part. I don't know if you have gone into people's LinkedIn profiles, and in the lower part, you not only see their skills, but you see how people validate those skills and people validate their knowledge. And that's very important, because it's kind of not only saying, I am good at this and I do this, but it's also having people support that. And I think that's very, very relevant. And that's something that also recruiters are going to look into. So you are the first person who can make recruiters find you faster. Something that I have in my description is that I know how to work with Salesforce, with Taxi, and with several other platforms that are related to marketing. And I also think that's something that you guys should include. Nowadays, recruiters, they have apps that actually help them search for keywords. So if they're looking for someone who is multimedia engineering, they are gonna put those words into their little software, and LinkedIn is gonna find the profiles that have that in the description. So it's very important for you guys to include these details in any of the parts that we have discussed on your profile. As I mentioned before, I'm not gonna share only my profile, because I think Tanya's profile is much, much better. Tanya, as I said before, she's our People and Culture Director at the EF. She is Gallup certified in strengths, and she's actually a coach for this, and she's a high-performance team builder and driver. So from Tanya's header, we can see how she's very related to human resources thing. This Gallup test that I told you about, she's actually a coach for it, so she's actually the one that coaches the entire team at EF in Latam for this. And I also wanted to share Tanya's description because I found it very interesting and I found a lot of details. So I'm just gonna read it and then I'm just gonna go into those details. Experienced sales and marketing professional with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry and retail. Highly passionate about goal achievement and process development, a special interest in people's careers and life development. Skilled in corporate communications, presence and leadership, negotiation, online advertising, PR, business strategy, offline and digital marketing, recruitment and development. And then at the end, she shares her Clifton strengths. In our case, it's Clifton Strengths, but there are, as I told you before, several other tests where you can find what your strongest strengths are, if that makes sense. And for Tanya, it's responsibility, relator, activator, communication, and maximizer. So when you read this, don't you feel like you know Tanya? Like, I feel like she's standing like right by me, right? I know she's goal-oriented. I know she cares about people, so she's in the human resources department, but I also know she's been in sales. She has been in PR. So I really believe that this is a very well written description, and this is what you need to look for. Of course, with your strengths, with your skills, and with your experience. Does this look like anyone's LinkedIn profile that's here? Yes, kind of, maybe. Probably your teachers have a LinkedIn profile that has this a description similar to this. Yeah, cool. Well, that's also very important. I've seen a lot of people that put it in English and Spanish. If I want people in the American industry to see me, it makes sense to have it in English, right? So, tip number 1 was optimize your profile. Tip number 2 is be active. Can anyone, I'd love for one of the students to reply. When was the last time that you published something on LinkedIn? One month? Okay. The younger students, you guys, when was the last time that you published something on LinkedIn? Never? One semester? Okay, that's better than never. I think you need to be more active on LinkedIn. If you guys want to start building a network, you need to start getting in there. I'm pretty sure you spend some time of your day looking at Instagram or TikTok. And if you want to start finding opportunities, professional opportunities, maybe you want to cut a little bit on the TikTok and on the Instagram and start spending some time on LinkedIn. And believe me, I think you start liking it when you get older, but there's a lot of very interesting content in LinkedIn. So how can you be active? So once again, I'm using Tanya. Tanya, she is, as we just saw, she's a coach in Gallup in the test. So she shares a lot about this information. And since we're all in her network, I'm always reading her posts, right? Because she's probably publishing about something that I have in my strengths or some new tool that they have that I want to use. So it's relevant, which is important. It's not being active just because, but it's sharing relevant information that can make your profile more interesting. You've probably heard about people that are LinkedIn top voices. Do you guys know what LinkedIn top voices are? No? So there are people that when you look at their headline, the one we just saw, you see in their description, LinkedIn top voice. That means that people follow them a lot, they have a lot of followers, and it's because they have very relevant opinions on a certain subject, right? So I follow someone that's called Lina Castellanos, I believe is her last name, and she's a top voice for marketing in Colombia. So if you put enough time in your LinkedIn profile and you are kind of an expert in your field, you can become a top voice, and that's also very, very, very cool, because then you're going to get invited to do talks and to do different things. So how can you start? Posting things that are relevant to your network, asking yourself, who am I trying to reach and what are they interested in? Post things that are trending, examples, artificial intelligence, news, social justice, and comment on posts and respond if someone is commenting on yours. So when you go to LinkedIn, it's very easy to see people that have work anniversaries. It's very easy to see people who have new jobs. And then maybe you want to start by there. You can start by, hey, congratulations on your new role. Hey, I'm super happy for you. Or if I share something about AI, hello, Carolina. I believe this article is very interesting. I believe AI is also something that we should all learn independent of the field we're in. I think it's important for you to start being active to be noticed. It's much harder for people to get to see your profile if you are not active at all. You're just there and you don't have a picture. So the second tip is very important to be active. Tip number three, grow your network. So if you see LinkedIn profiles, they say you have 500 and plus connections. That's what it shows. This isn't like Instagram or TikTok where you have millions of followers, or you probably can, but it's just gonna show 500 and plus connections. And people do pay attention to this number because it also shows how relevant you are. If you have a network that's kind of full, it means that your opinions are important or that you have something relevant to say. People share job opportunities on LinkedIn, and that's also very important to keep in mind. If you're not going through LinkedIn, if you're not active, and if you are not asking people to be connected on LinkedIn, you might be limiting yourself on being exposed to job opportunities that are related to you. And a good piece of advice is don't be scared to add people you don't know well. This is what LinkedIn is for, to start knowing people in a professional way. So we have a new CEO, relatively new. His name is Jacob Torren. He is Swedish. And I was super scared to add him to LinkedIn, right? I was like, oh my God, but it's Jacob and he's so important and I'm not sure if it's gonna think it's wrong for me to add him. And then I actually talked to Tanya and she's like, excuse me? You need to connect with Jacob. He is the CEO of the company you work for. So anything he has to say, it's probably very relevant to you. So maybe you guys are scared to connect on LinkedIn with the director of your faculty. If you're a student, because you think he's a big person, well, I think you should connect with him. And I think it's a very, him or her, I think it's a very good way for you to start building a relationship through LinkedIn with people that are relevant to you. And then just a couple other tips and tricks. Build a quality network. So I just show you the 500 plus number. So it's not like you are now gonna go out of here and in the traffic light, put your window down and ask everyone for their LinkedIn profile. It doesn't really work like that in LinkedIn. I think it's quality, it's better. So maybe you want to start connecting with people from your same major. You want to start connecting with your teachers. You want to start connecting, if you have had an experience abroad, maybe you want to connect with those people that you met at that experience abroad because they can probably bring opportunities to you abroad if that's something that interests you. But please build a quality network. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality on Instagram. On LinkedIn. Join relevant groups and follow companies or leaders that align with your interest. So I shared this is something that I posted actually last week. And it can also be simple, right? I just said, couldn't agree more to this Simon Sinek's publication, which said communication is not about saying what we think. Communication, it's about ensuring others hear what we mean. And I can't agree more. I think sometimes we say things, but we don't worry about people getting the message that we want to get across, but instead we worry about saying what we think, and that's it. So Simon Sinek, he describes himself as a positive person. If you look in his header, and he's one of my favorite people to follow. maybe because one of my top skills is also positivity. But I think he has a lot of very interesting things to say about leadership. Simon Sinek probably will never know who I am, but he's relevant to me. And I think when I follow people that align with my interests and that are leaders, people that's also kind of gonna connect with my personal brand, right? I could follow, I don't know, who comes to my mind is Epa Colombia. I think we all know who she is, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe if I like Epa Colombia's post on LinkedIn, then that's gonna give a very different image about me than if I like Simon Sinek's post. So this is also talking about you, and it's important. Make strategic mentions, tag people with purpose, not just for the attention. So I'm probably gonna make a LinkedIn post about this and about my visit to Cali, and I'm probably gonna tag people that are relevant, like Majo, who has been working behind the scenes to get these spaces for us to come and visit schools and universities. And that's very good. I think we are not very good, or many of us are not very good about showing what we do. And I think LinkedIn is here to teach us that we need to be the first to recognize our work. If we don't recognize what we do, then it's going to be very hard that other people do it. Use smart hashtags in your posts so you reach a broader audience. In this, Tanya, who I've been talking about, she's extremely good. She's always putting her Gallup and her Strengths and her Clifton tags, and that's gonna make it more viral, so I can use a word that you guys, the younger people here, understand. And my last tip, which I really, really recommend, is look into and use LinkedIn Learning. I think it doesn't matter what you study, LinkedIn has courses for soft skills. And as we mentioned earlier, soft skills are now the ones that are being most demanded. So if you guys go into LinkedIn Learning and you look for courses about leadership because you don't feel comfortable, about talking in public, about many, many things, you're gonna find a great set of courses that are not that expensive and then can make you, can help you make your profile stronger. And you can also share them in LinkedIn, right? So since they're LinkedIn courses, you can post, I just finished my LinkedIn course on blah, 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 and that's also gonna make your profile stronger. Don'ts. So some things that we should not do in LinkedIn. The first one is leave an incomplete profile. So you started building your profile and then you left it in the middle of the way and you never went back to it. I think you should never ever do that. I think if you want people to find you, you need to at least have a complete profile. Please, please, and if you take one thing from this hour, take this one. Please don't lie or exaggerate on LinkedIn. I have seen this. Not everyone, but I would say 50% of the people who join EF's team in Colombia are interviewed by me. And when I look at their LinkedIn profile, it says their English level is C2. So if their English level is C2, I feel like they should be comfortable if I ask 2 questions in English, right? Are you comfortable if I ask you 2 questions in English? Prefiero español. And I'm like, but wait, you have a C2 level in your LinkedIn profile. Your CV says you're a C2 level. That makes no sense, right? Your personal brand, at least for me, just went down the toilet. So please, please don't lie. And I think, yeah, please don't do it. It's not good. It's not going to get you hired, and it's not going to get you anywhere. And as I told you, if you want to take one thing out of here, is that. Don't use an unprofessional picture. So I actually put some example here for you guys. This picture is no picture, which is no good. This picture where you cut part of your head, that's also not very attracting. And this picture where you have a drink in your hand, that's definitely not LinkedIn material, so please don't do it. And the last piece of advice is please don't take a discussion to LinkedIn. What do I mean? So I post something about, and I think you need to be very careful about posting about things, especially if they're related to religion or politics. You should really be very, very careful. Or when you publish, like, I don't know, you had a fight this morning with your boss, and then you go on your LinkedIn account and you publish, good bosses don't yell their employees, right? So, I mean, it's like vengeance. Please don't use LinkedIn as vengeance. That does not make you look professional. I would recommend you to talk to your boss directly and not take it to LinkedIn. Are those questions? Well, we're almost done, and then. Oh, okay. Thanks. Thank you. I think, I mean, I'm not an expert, but if you'd like my opinion, I think once you share something, then that means you're open to talking about it, right? So for example, if I post, I'm pregnant because I've always dreamt about being a mother, and I'm just giving like a random example, then that means I'm open to people commenting about it, right? I am not a big fan of sharing on LinkedIn very personal things, because I think there are other networks to do this type of things. And I don't think anyone that's related to you professionally necessarily needs to know your personal things. But my opinion is that if you post it, then you're probably open to people having an opinion on what you post. So my advice would be to draw a line. I think it's different, and I think it's safe to keep it different. But I don't think it's wrong to decide to share. Just if you decide to share, be open to people commenting or having an opinion on what you share. And then this is kind of a bonus we wanted to share. And this is, I told you, I talked this morning about the most demanded skills for 2025, but we have them here. So communication, adaptability, leadership, problem solving, critical thinking, data analysis. If you have this into your skill set, then you're safe and you're good. If you see some of them are soft skills, some of them, I would say probably, 5 of them are soft skills, because still problem solving is something where you need to understand. It's not technical. You can solve problems in any type of field. So this is basically what you should work towards. Whatever you work into, if you're a leader, if you have great communication, and if you know how to adapt, there's a phrase that we use in EF that you've probably heard that says, the only thing constant is change. So you need to be able to adapt for things that are changing, and that's why adaptability is it's so well rated nowadays. And those things that I just showed you, or at least 5 of those 6 things, are things that we strongly believe you can develop if you travel abroad. So I work for EF, and we're a language company, and I would really, really love to encourage everyone here and everyone that's online to travel abroad, it can be 2 weeks, it can be 3 weeks, but it makes a big difference on your profile, not only because of your English level or your language levels, but also because of how you grow as a human and as a professional. You become more independent, you become more secure, you become more adaptable, because when you travel abroad, things are gonna be different. You're gonna have a culture shock, but that's also gonna help you be more adaptable to changes. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about the courses that you can do with EF, I'm gonna invite you guys to follow us on social media. For the people that are here, Majo gave you a little paper. If you want to learn a little bit more information about the courses that EF does, just once you give it back to Majo, please let us know. And here are TikTok and Instagram accounts, so you guys can follow us on social media and learn more about what you can do with EF.
And also, I give you some brochures, so for people that want to know about EF.
Thank you, Majo. So that's actually it. I hope this was useful. I hope you take at least 2 or 3 things that you can do with your LinkedIn profile. And I really hope you start working on your personal brand. When you're young and you're a student, you think, I'll do it later on. Life is coming ahead. I'll do it when I'm 30-something, like Carolina is. But the earlier you start, the better future and a better career you guys can build for yourselves. So I hope this is useful, and I hope you take some time from here till the weekend to work on your LinkedIn accounts. I don't know if you have any questions, either here or maybe from the people who are virtually connected.
Hi, how many publications do I have to do, like, in a weekly time in order to be, like, recognized? How many do you recommend?
That's a very good question. I would say very active people on LinkedIn publish 2 or 3 times a week. I think more than that, it's a lot, because you also, I mean, when you become like a LinkedIn top voice, you have to plan your content, and it takes time. But I would say 2 times a week is good to keep you kind of active and to keep people, to keep you in people's mind. I do like once a week, once every 2-3 weeks. Probably if I was looking for a job, I do it more often. So I think it's also, you should take into account the timing. If you're looking for a job, then maybe you want to be a little bit more active than if you are just building your personal brand, but you have more time to pace it.
Okay, and does it have to be like a project progress, or it can be like an explanation or something I do know about?
You mean like for the post? Like for what you post?
Yeah, exactly, for the post content.
It can be different things. It can be an article that you found interesting, but if you're going to share something, I would recommend for you to share your comments on that. So for example, you found a very interesting article on artificial intelligence. So you comment, I want to share this article because it has the top 3 platforms where you can find the most useful artificial intelligence courses. I'm taking one of them. Yeah, so if you're going to post something, like repost something, just make sure you comment. You can post something about your day that you want to share. So I was telling you earlier, I'm probably going to post about being here. I'm probably going to post about being at the school that we visited this morning, because it also shows in a way what your interests are and what you're doing. So you can vary the type of post. If you're more professional, you can also create content. So if you follow like top voices, they create, for example, like images on the 5 best ways to use artificial intelligence, but it's images that they post. So if you want to be more produced, you could also do that.
Okay, thank you. And about those in-demand skills you show us, um, those skills are applied, does those skills apply to any field?
Yeah,
Like,
you mean these skills, right? The most demand
yes, yes,
in.
ma'am.
So they are, yeah, they are the most demanded if you look at all fields together. Of course, if you're in a specific field, there are also lists, and you can. Do you use ChatGPT? ChatGPT is one of my best friends currently. And I love to ask ChatGPT for things. So, for example, I ask him, I work in the industrial engineering field. Which are the top skills that you believe I should develop, taking into account that I'm in this field? So that's also something that you can do if you want to find out what's for your specific field.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the whole talk.
Anyone else? Well, thank you guys for this time. I really enjoyed being here. I really hope this is useful for you guys, and I really, really hope in the plan you're gonna make, you make a little slot to travel abroad, to learn languages, because that's also something that's gonna make your profile even more attractive. So thanks everyone. Have a great day.
No la voy a tirar, debe estar asustada. No, lo lamento,
Hola.
no te voy a tirar, claro que no, no dejaré que eso pase.
Hola.
No,
Dale, que estén bien. Ok, a ustedes, que estén bien.